Let's talk about Passover, or Pesach in Hebrew. It's a super important Jewish holiday. It's all about how the Israelites escaped from slavery in ancient Egypt a long time ago. This 8-day festival is a time for families to get together, think about important things, and celebrate. Passover is about freedom, never giving up, and hope. These ideas are really important to Jewish people all over the world. Passover helps us remember the hard times the Israelites went through, but it's also a big celebration of how they miraculously left Egypt. It reminds us that God protects us, and that it's important to fight for what's right. Passover is a happy time with special foods, rituals, and lots of storytelling. The Passover story shows how strong people can be, even when things are tough. It's a story that's been told for many years, connecting Jewish people to their history and where they come from. Passover's message of freedom and hope is inspiring for everyone, no matter what they believe. We celebrate Passover in the spring, around the same time as the harvest. This makes Passover even more special because spring is a time of new beginnings. It's a time for families to be together, think about their own lives, and be thankful for their freedom. The story of the Exodus is the heart of Passover. It's in the book of Exodus, in the Torah, the Jewish Bible. The Israelites were slaves in Egypt for a really long time. They had to do hard work and were treated badly. They prayed for help, and God heard them. God chose Moses to lead the Israelites out of slavery. Moses went to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and told him to let the Israelites go. Pharaoh said no, so God sent 10 plagues to Egypt. These plagues were terrible things, like the Nile River turning to blood, lots of locusts everywhere, and the death of the firstborn children. Finally, Pharaoh changed his mind and let the Israelites leave. They had to leave so fast that their bread didn't have time to rise. This is why Jewish people don't eat bread with yeast during Passover. The Israelites ran away from Egypt towards the Red Sea, but Pharaoh's army chased them. God did something amazing and parted the Red Sea so the Israelites could walk across on dry land. When the Egyptian army tried to follow, the water came back and they all drowned. The Israelites were finally free. They traveled in the desert for 40 years before they got to the Promised Land. This long journey shows how they became free, both in their bodies and in their spirits. The Seder is the most important Passover ritual. It's a special dinner on the first and sometimes second night of Passover. Everything in the Seder has a special meaning connected to the Exodus story. We read from the Haggadah, a special book that tells us what to do during the Seder. The Haggadah tells the Exodus story and has blessings, songs, and instructions. The 4 questions are a big part of the Seder. Usually the youngest person asks these questions. They help everyone talk about and think about what Passover means. The Seder plate has special foods, and each one represents a part of the Exodus story. These foods are matzah, a flat bread without yeast, which reminds us that the Israelites left Egypt quickly. Maror, bitter herbs, which reminds us of the bitterness of slavery. Charoseh, a sweet mix of nuts, apples, and wine, which reminds us of the mortar the Israelites used for building in Egypt. Karpas, a green vegetable dipped in salt water, which reminds us of the tears the Israelites cried when they were slaves. And beitzah, a roasted egg, which reminds us of a special offering they used to make at the temple in Jerusalem. Let's talk more about the no bread rule. During Passover, Jewish people don't eat or even keep any food with yeast in it. This is called chametz, and it includes things like bread, pasta, cookies, and beer. Instead of chametz, we eat matzah, that flat bread. Matzah reminds us that the Israelites had to leave Egypt so fast that their bread didn't have time to rise. Not eating chametz isn't just about the food. It also reminds us to get rid of bad things in our lives, like bad thoughts or being too proud. Just like we clean chametz out of our houses, we try to clean bad things out of our minds. Before Passover starts, we have a special ritual called the search for chametz. We use a candle and a feather to look all over our houses for any tiny crumbs of bread. This reminds us to be really careful and to think about ourselves as we get ready for Passover. Passover is still really important for Jewish people today. The ideas of freedom, getting free, and never giving up are still inspiring, especially when we see unfair things happening in the world. Passover reminds us that we need to help people who are treated badly and to fight for what's right. Passover story shows us that things can change and that freedom is worth fighting for. Passover also helps us think about our own lives. Just like the Israelites escaped slavery, we all have things we need to break free from. In a world where lots of people are still treated unfairly, Passover's message of hope and freedom is super important. We celebrate the good things that happened in the past and promise to keep working to make the world a fairer place for everyone. Passover is so important because it connects us to our history, inspires us today, and gives us hope for a future with freedom and strength.